Now, I also want to show you how I do an operation much more efficiently. One of the new features is that what said earlier is the operation templates. And now, whenever you do a new operation, it will look at the previous operations to suggest templates. It noticed that my previous operation was SKI2D with POTA. If I tap here, it'll pick this. It will even pick the nearest park for POTA automatically. So one tap, and I have everything I need to start my operation. Next thing I didn't show earlier, but I want to show it now, is I want to spot myself. Let's say that I'm going to be in 40 meters. I can click here and change the band to 40, or I can type 40M here, and that'll change the band. If I want to change to CW, I can type CW, or I can do it over here. If I type a frequency, I can type 7200, or I can type 7.200. It'll doesn't matter. PoLo recognizes that you mean to go on 7.2 megahertz. And if I press enter, it'll go there. And it will even change the mode because it knows that 7200 is, according to the band plan for the US, a phone frequency. Having done that, I now have a frequency, and I now have my park and everything. I can spot myself. If I were to enter a comment here, testing, oops. Let me enter it with the keyword here. Because, yay, live bugs. I'll edit this out. But if I press spot, it will send a spot to the POTA website automatically. There's a better way to do that, and that is I can here just type QRV. It'll tell me what it wants to do here, and if I press enter, that's the same as if I had pressed spot in this button. There's also more controls here. If you want to see, for example, for power and for notes, this way you can get them quickly. If you have a big screen, you can press this arrow to open the controls, make them more accessible. If you have a cramped screen, for example, if you have a keyboard open like this in a phone, you might want to close them to get a little bit of screen real estate. Having done that, I can, again, type here, I'm working WD4 Dan, and I'll get him in my log. One of the things that you get with PoLo is that your activities you can have more than one park, according to Parks on the Air. It's up to you to figure out if the parks have a boundary that's common and all of that, but you would get 2 parks that you're activating. When that happens, it will generate 2 separate files, one for each park, that will let you upload to the POTA website accordingly to the rules. You also get a separate ADIF export that has all the information combined, say if you want to keep it for your records or upload it to qrz.com. You can also watch here in the map the contacts I've met, only Dan right now. And you get here the spots from the POTA website. You can look to see who else is operating around. There's some settings. You can sort it by spot time, by frequency. You can exclude other continents. If you know you're not making it to Asia, you can exclude Asia to get fewer entries, limit by age, and so on. One feature I like to do is pick automatic band and automatic mode, which will show me the spots based on the mode and band I'm at right now. If I go spots here, it'll show me who else is in 40 meters phone. If I change bands to 20 meters, the spots will show me who's in 20 meters. And it will even show me, oh, look, WW8L, Tim, Ham2K supporter, thanks for your contributions. The next thing I would like to show is, if you go on settings, you can enable more features. Say you want to do summits on the air. It will download the data. It will also let you, summits on the air is a little bit more slow to load because the data set is bigger. It includes every single summit in the entire world. You can also download the settings for worldwide flora and fauna and activate both Parks on the Air and WWFF at the same time. You can activate field day, winter field day. We're coming up with QSO parties, sample contest. And there's even more activities here like bunkers on the air, castles, global mountain activity, silos in the air in Australia, Belgium, and English, lighthouses and castles, etc. We'll be adding more activities as soon as we have people who bring us the data and the needs for those activities. Now that I have enabled summits on the air, let's say that this operation was also a summit. I can add here the nearest summit, activate, and I have my activation. And if I try to export the logs, I will get one export for SOTA, along with this exports for POTA and ADIF. There are subtle differences between the exports. For example, the SOTA export will include signal reports in the comments, since that seems to be a common practice in the SOTA world. The POTA exports only include the bare minimum data needed for a POTA import on the website. And with this, if I go back and click new operation, I now have two templates, myself with POTA or myself with POTA and SOTA. Again, if I click here, it'll start right away with the nearest reference for POTA and SOTA based on that template it used. You can also, let's say that I want to operate as a station. The Ham 2K Radio Club, we have our own call sign, and it'll be the station with the operator. And again, if I were to start a new operation, that's now a template. So let me start that very quickly. And there's PoLo lets you enter lots of commas in places you would never expect to enter a comma. Let's say I'm operating at a park with Dan. I can enter both our call signs here. And now I'm operating with two people. We're going to be keeping a single log. We work Bo, and I pass the microphone to Dan, and he says, stand by for a second, operator. He gets the contact, and we're good. We can go on the spots and find somebody to work. Just tap here, and it'll bring the person, and it'll bring their park reference. Where did my park references go? Oh, this is not a POTA operation. Let me make this a POTA. So we have a POTA, and now we have our park to park. And this reference came from the spots. And now if I want to export my logs, I have the POTA for KI2D and the POTA for Dan. It'll generate the two files with those QSOs in it. You can also, let's say that we are working park to park, and we get Bo. We already have Bo in the call. Let's put my friend John, who says that he is at a park. So I go and put him in the parks. And he says, stand by for a second, operator. I just put a comma here, and I add whoever is working with him, Patrick Smith. If I press send, it'll add the two contacts immediately there. I can even tap on some existing call and enter a second call here. I know who Peter Doherty is, but thanks for working us. And we'll copy everything from that contact up here. If PoLo finds, there doesn't seem to be any right now, but if PoLo finds somebody who's operating with someone else because they have spotted with the same park reference and frequency, they will be shown here with commas. So if you tap, it'll grab the two operators in one click. And I think that's a good quick summary of how this works. I don't know if the audience has any questions. There's a lot of written comments. If you go here, read the fine manual, it'll open the PoLo manual. And in the PoLo features section, there's lots of information about those commands and the things you can do to make it more efficient, including developer mode. The tips and tricks, I believe, is where we have a lot of the commands you can enter. You can enter change your power using that. You can change frequencies by just putting the decimals. If you're just moving around in the band, you can change the QSO times if you're entering them manually. You can enter QRV, QSY, or QRT to send spots. You can change operators if you're doing, say, a club operation and you're switching operators. It will keep track of that. And finally, the last thing I wanted to show is this bar here that says today 5 QSOs. It will show you a summary of your operation. In this case, it will show me that I have 5 out of 10 required POTA contacts, so I have yet to activate the park. I have worked 5 different states, so it'll show them scratched here. If I work some DX, it'll include that. If I work some Canadian provinces, it will include that. If I'm working another activity like field day, it will show information for field day. Bo asks, what's the idea of the use for the operation details submenu? Operation details submenu, will this be it? This is one of the menus that lets you customize some things here, including showing or not showing a state field. PoLo includes a number row. If you're using a phone, the keyboard, I can enable or disable that number row, etc. There will be more options coming there in the future. But I don't know if that's what Bo was asking around about. If you have a lot of operations, like I have 4, so when you do new operation, the templates will show the first 3 here. It'll show the most recent up front, and then the most commonly used following that, and then any other operations. But if you have a lot, you can always go down your operation list, find the one you want, and tap on the use as new template to start an operation based on this operation. Bo asks about operation details. This screen here, it lets you enter a given title for your operation. And notes if you want to say anything. Not old, cold, and damp. And that's information that will be saved. It'll show here the title, and the experts will include that information. We might add more there in the future if our users have any needs for that. Let's see what else do we added. Very important. One of the new features is that we now show that you have donated money to Ham2K. You're a supporter, and if you want, you can click here, and it will show you. In this case, it doesn't work because this is a development environment. It'll let you contribute $5, $15, or whatever you want to donate, and it'll give you a little badge that shows your support for 2025.